You think you can talk to me like that? I will not stand for it. You slapped me in front of everyone. Are you crazy? Stop this madness now.
They say one moment can define your entire life. For Amara Okafor, that moment came at exactly 4:47 p.m. on a scorching Tuesday afternoon in the crowded market of Enugu. She raised her hand, and in front of hundreds of witnesses, she slapped 73-year-old Mama Ngozi across the face. The sound echoed through the marketplace like thunder. Women gasped. Men stopped mid-conversation. Children froze. And in that single second, everything Amara thought she knew about herself, about justice, about life itself, shattered. What she didn't know was that this one act would uncover a truth so devastating, so unexpected, that would shake their entire village to its core. This is not just a story about anger. It's a story about what happens when we judge too quickly, when we act before we understand, and when life reveals that nothing is ever quite what it seems. What could drive a respected young woman, a teacher beloved by her community, to strike an elderly woman in broad daylight? What secret was Mama Ngozi hiding that would explain why? Even after being publicly humiliated, she refused to press charges. And why? 3 days after that slap, would Amara be seen on her knees in that same marketplace, tears streaming down her face, begging for forgiveness not from Mama Ngozi, but from the entire village? The answer to these questions lies in a story that began not on that Tuesday afternoon, but 6 months earlier, in a small hospital room in the neighboring town of Nsukka. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Amara Okafor was 28 years old, unmarried, and carried the weight of her family's expectations on her shoulders like a heavy load of yam. She taught mathematics at the local secondary school, and every evening she would stop by the market to buy ingredients for dinner. Her mother had passed away when she was 16, leaving her to care for her younger brother, Chidi, who was now 23 and unemployed. Their father had remarried and moved to Lagos, sending money occasionally, but never enough. Amara was the backbone of their small household, and everyone in the village knew it. She was the kind of woman people pointed to and said, "See how she sacrifices for her family. That is a good daughter." But beneath that composed exterior, Amara was drowning. The school hadn't paid salaries in 3 months. Chidi's drinking was getting worse. And every night, she lay awake wondering how long she could keep pretending that everything was fine. The bills were piling up like firewood during Harmattan season, and she had already sold her mother's jewelry just to keep food on the table. Mama Ngozi was different. She was one of those elderly women who seemed to have been old forever. Nobody knew her exact age, though some claimed she had been selling vegetables in that same spot in the market for over 40 years. She arrived every morning at dawn, her stall filled with fresh tomatoes, peppers, and garden eggs. Her hands were wrinkled like dried leaves, her back bent from decades of labor, but her eyes remained sharp and alert. She lived alone in a small house at the edge of the village. Her husband had died long ago, and her only son, according to village gossip, had moved to America and never looked back. She never complained, never asked for help, and never smiled much either. People respected her, but nobody really knew her. There was something about Mama Ngozi that kept people at a distance, a sadness that hung around her like morning mist. Some of the younger market women whispered that she was bitter because her son had abandoned her, that she counted her money every night and cried over how alone she was. But these were just stories, the kind that people tell when they don't really know the truth. On that Tuesday afternoon, Amara had just left the bank where she had gone to plead for a loan extension. They had refused. Her head was pounding, her stomach was empty, and desperation was closing in on her like walls. She walked through the market in a daze, barely seeing the faces around her. Then she noticed her purse felt lighter. She stopped, her heart racing. She opened it and immediately saw that the envelope containing 40,000 naira, her entire month's salary that had finally been paid that morning, was gone. Panic seized her throat. That money was supposed to pay Chidi's debt to the local moneylender, buy food for 2 weeks, and settle the electricity bill. Without it, they would be thrown out of their house. She retraced her steps frantically, asking vendors if they had seen anything. Then someone said, "I saw that old woman, Mama Ngozi, pick up something near her stall just after you passed by." She put it quickly under her table. Amara's vision blurred with rage. She marched to Mama Ngozi's stall, her hands trembling. "Where is my money?" she demanded. Mama Ngozi looked up, confused. "What money, my daughter? Don't lie to me. Someone saw you pick up my envelope." "Get back now." The old woman's face hardened. "I picked up nothing that belongs to you. Search my stall if you want." That response, that calm dismissal, ignited something in Amara. Before she could think, before she could breathe, her hand flew across the old woman's face with a sharp crack that silenced the entire market. Mama Ngozi stumbled backward, her hand touching her cheek in shock. Blood trickled from her lip where it had split against her teeth. The market erupted. Women rushed forward, some to restrain Amara, others to help Mama Ngozi to her feet. Men shouted. Someone called for the village chairman. Within minutes, a crowd of over 100 people had gathered, all talking at once, all taking sides. Amara stood there, her hands still raised, her chest heaving, slowly realizing what she had done. "She stole my money. 40,000 naira. I have children to feed," she screamed, though she had no children. The lie came out of desperation, out of the need to justify the unjustifiable. "Search her stall. You will find it." The village chairman arrived, a portly man named Chief Okonkwo, who settled disputes with the wisdom of age. He ordered Mama Ngozi's stall to be searched. Every basket was emptied, every container opened, every corner examined. Nothing was found. No envelope, no money, just vegetables and Mama Ngozi's small purse containing only 2,000 naira in crumpled bills. "This is all the money she has," the chairman announced. The crowd turned to look at Amara with different eyes now. Eyes that judged, eyes that condemned. "You have assaulted an innocent old woman," Chief Okonkwo said quietly. "What do you have to say for yourself?" Amara's world was collapsing. She tried to explain about the witness, but the person who had supposedly seen Mama Ngozi pick up something had disappeared into the crowd. She tried to explain about her lost salary, but now it sounded like an excuse, a justification for violence. Mama Ngozi stood silently, holding a cloth to her bleeding lip, her eyes lowered. The chairman asked her if she wanted to press charges. To everyone's surprise, the old woman shook her head. "Let her go," she said quietly. "She is troubled. I will not add to her troubles." That mercy, that unexpected grace, made everything worse. Amara felt shame burn through her body like pepper soup. She ran from the market, pushing through the crowd, their whispers following her like shadows. For 3 days, Amara hid in her house. Chitty didn't understand what had happened, and she couldn't explain it to him. The story had spread through the village like wildfire. At school, the headmaster called her in and suggested she take a leave of absence until things calmed down. Parents were complaining. How could someone who slapped an elderly woman be trusted to teach their children? On the third morning, there was a knock on her door. It was Chief Okonkwo, and his face was grave. "Come with me," he said. "There is something you need to see." He took her to the house of Mrs. Adiz, a widow who lived 2 streets away from the market. Inside, sitting at a table with her head in her hands, was Mrs. Adiz's 16-year-old daughter, Chioma. When she saw Amara, the girl burst into tears. "I am sorry, Chioma sobbed. I took your money. I saw it fall from your bag, and I picked it up. I was planning to return it, I swear. But then everything happened so fast, and I was scared." The chief's voice was heavy with disappointment. "Tell her the rest." Chioma's words came out in broken gasps. "I saw Mama Ngozi bend down near her stall, and I told that lie because I was scared you would search everyone in the market, and they would find the money with me. I never thought you would hit her. I never thought it would go that far." Amara felt her knees give way. The chief caught her arm. But the revelation was not finished. "There's more you need to know," Chief Okonkwo said. "About Mama Ngozi. About why she forgave you so quickly." He explained that 28 years ago, Mama Ngozi's son had been involved in a fight. He had accidentally killed another young man. The village had wanted to hand him over to the police, but the victim's mother had refused to press charges. She had said, "Let him go. He is young and made a mistake. I will not destroy another mother's child." That act of mercy had saved Mama Ngozi's son from prison. He had eventually gone to America, and though he sent money every month, the guilt of what he had done never left him. 3 months ago, he had died in a car accident in Texas. Mama Ngozi had been using his savings to quietly help struggling families in the village, the way someone had once helped her. She was not bitter. She was grateful. Amara walked to the market the next morning. She carried no purse, no pride, nothing but the weight of her shame. Mama Ngozi was at her usual spot, her face still slightly swollen, the cut on her lip healing slowly. Amara knelt in the dust in front of her stall. The market grew quiet again, just as it had 3 days before, but this time the silence was different. It was the silence of witnesses to redemption. "Mama," Amara said, her voice breaking, "I have no excuse. I struck you because I was desperate and afraid, and I believe a lie because I wanted to. I saw your age, your vulnerability, and I thought you would be an easy target for my anger. I was wrong. I am deeply, deeply sorry. I know that my words cannot undo what I did, but I am asking, begging for your forgiveness." Mama Ngozi looked down at her for a long moment. Then she reached out her wrinkled hand and touched Amara's head. "Stand up, my daughter," she said softly. "You are forgiven. We all carry burdens too heavy to bear alone. We all make mistakes when we're drowning. What matters now is what you do next." Amara stood, tears streaming down her face. The old woman reached under her table and pulled out a small envelope. "This is for my son's savings. It is 5,000 naira. Take it. Buy food for your family. And when you are strong again, help someone else who is drowning." The gesture broke something open in Amara's chest. She accepted the envelope with shaking hands. Chioma's mother had already returned the 40,000 naira, but this gift from Mama Ngozi was something different. It was grace. It was a bridge across the chasm of her shame. In the months that followed, Amara returned to teaching. She learned to ask for help instead of suffering in silence. She started a small group in the village where people could share their struggles without judgment. And every week, without fail, she visited Mama Ngozi, bringing her food, helping her with her stall, and slowly building a friendship that would last until Mama Ngozi's peaceful death 4 years later. The slap that echoed through the market that day became a turning point not just for Amara, but for the entire village. It taught them that desperation can make anyone act against their nature, that mercy is more powerful than punishment, and that sometimes the people we judge most harshly are the ones carrying the heaviest burdens. So let me ask you this. Have you ever judged someone too quickly, only to discover later that you were wrong? Have you ever been so desperate that you did something you regretted immediately? And if you were Mama Ngozi, could you have found it in your heart to forgive the person who struck you in front of hundreds of people? Think about it. Comment below and share your thoughts. Tell us about a time when mercy changed your life or the life of someone you know. And if this story touched your heart, if it made you think twice about how we treat each other in moments of pain and desperation, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because at the end of the day, we are all just human beings trying to survive, trying to do our best with the broken pieces we've been given. And sometimes the greatest strength we can show is not in how hard we can strike back, but in how gracefully we can forgive. Thank you for watching, and remember, every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Choose kindness. Choose understanding. Choose mercy.